great comedian Bill Hicks, the lovely Mary Hicks, everyone.
Fast forward another 15 years, and David Letterman invited Mrs. Mary Hicks, Bill's mother, onto his chat show to apologise for his own behaviour a decade and a half ago. After discussing the incident, Letterman then aired Hicks' banned appearance in its entirety.
I've not seen that videotape or any part of it since that night, and seeing it now, it raises the question, what was the matter with me? What was I thinking? That was just tremendous. He, if anything, it says a great deal about me. It says more about me as a guy than it says about Bill, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just perfect. In fact, I guess this speaks to the suggestion that he was way ahead of his time.
Fans of Hicks believe he should never have been censored, and that mainstream media was denying him his right of freedom of speech. However, just a quick glance at the YouTube comments left on British comedian Bernard Manning's video pages show hundreds of his fans saying exactly the same thing about the Mancunian comic. Does this mean Manning's relatives should be apologised to, or was there a difference between Hicks's preaching and Manning's rallies? Yes, there is quite a big difference actually.
Funny will always be funny, and I'm funny. If I want to tell a joke about a woman,
if you was my daughter, I'd still be fucking bathing you.
Queer,
One thing I couldn't be queer, I'll tell you that. I couldn't stand fellas refusing me as well as women.
Pakistani, or a black man.
50 years ago, 30 white men chasing a black man was the Ku Klux Klan. Now it's the PGA Golf Championships.
If it's funny, I shall tell it.
No, they can't take that away from me.
Generation characterised by postmodernism, Manning's comedy seems outdated, crude and offensive. However, his comedy wasn't always seen like this. In the 1950s, Manning was an upcoming comedian performing in the working men's clubs across Britain. It was during this period of his life where he began to perfect his joke telling and comic timing to an immaculate degree, which a lot of people sort of agree with.
He's good, there's no question about it, but that's not the point. You don't become exempt from moral issues just because you're good.
Manning's biographer, Jonathan Margolis, believes that today's audience should put Manning in perspective as somebody who grew up in a time where children were brought up to believe white people ruled the universe.
They must never stop that boxing. There's nothing nice in seeing two blacks knocking fuck out one. We got a black man at the back there. I didn't see you till you smiled. I thought somebody moved a fucking piano in the place.
However, there's only so much his cultural background and upbringing can excuse him for.
And you'll laugh because you're outnumbered 200 to fucking 1.
What's so alarming about that last joke is that Manning avoids any form of wordplay or comic invention in favour of a confirmation of a clear prejudice. It's performances like this which make it really easy to define Bernard Manning as simply a comedy spokesperson for bigotry.
I was in Bradford last week, I felt like a fucking spot in a domino, that's all.
As with most substantial comedians, Manning was an antagonistic figure. Some of his jokes obviously border on intolerant assaults against minorities, yet the sensibility he symbolises himself is of another minority, the bigoted white English working class left behind by their country, which constantly moves towards a multicultural society.
This is a modern world.
Nowadays it doesn't feel appropriate anymore to tell jokes about black people, but that doesn't mean we're a kinder and gentler nation. Nowadays the jokes are about other taboos such as paedophilia, disability, tragedies and dead celebrities. In 2010, do we really hold the moral high ground?
I'll come in Christ's face, boasts brand! Don't tell the Daily Mail.
As comedians, we regard the audience as being intelligent enough to be able to distinguish between the stupidity and bigotry of a character compared to maybe the bigotry of the performer, which may or may not exist.
However, modern-day risque comedians such as Frankie Boyle, Jimmy Carr or Ricky Gervais all perform as their namesakes. There are no crazy costumes or silly accents, so it's very difficult for audiences to separate the performer and the character. And how do audiences feel when they watch risque comedy? This is how behavioural expert Judy James sees it.
Sick humour really emphasises and brings out that struggle. You can see it going on in people's minds, you can see it going on in their faces when they're told the joke. Should I walk out? Should I get up and say this is disgusting, or shall I just sit here and laugh at it?
And it's so funny what you did.
In conclusion, I don't think it's fair to deny a comedian artistic freedom, as nobody really has the authority to say what is offensive and what isn't offensive, as comedy is so subjective. I think it's silly for people to ring up newspapers to complain about something they saw on television that they felt crossed a line just because it didn't appeal to them personally. Everyone has a different sense of humour.
You don't like Goat Boy?
And even though it's never been achieved in any art form, comedians still have to carry this burden of trying to appeal to everyone. I personally believe we should erase the idea that there are lines, and if it simply doesn't appeal to you, all you've got to do is pick up your remote and change the channel.